Hello, good evening, everybody. Wow. Woo! Yes, yes, yes. I am excited to be here. It is that time again, another Thursday, where we have our live show. How exciting! I'm just ecstatic to have just an awesome speaker today. Well, I say that every time I know, but I do. Oh my goodness. So I just kind of want to get through the preliminaries, and we are just going to have an awesome show. So I need you all, as you are coming on, please tag your friends, share to some pages. We have a great topic: fear from past pain. Yes, free from past pain. My goodness. Um, Whew, that in itself just speaks volume because we all have had some pain. We all have had some things that we have had to deal. Oh, I'm jumping ahead of myself. I'm jumping ahead. I'm not going to do it, you guys. I'm not going to do it. Okay, let's get to this. So, this evening, we have such an awesome speaker. First, let me welcome you to Shifting Mindset Live Show. On this show, we have mindful conversations and we uplift, encourage, and empower. Because why? What does it say? Embrace the change. Yes. All right. So I am drLaShonne, and um, I'm just glad that you were here. And every other week or every 2 weeks, we have a live show. We have guests, and the guests come on and talk about a topic that we agree upon. And the topic just ranges, but we have mindful conversations, and those conversations really just hone in to what we are dealing with on a day-to-day basis. So I'm so happy that you all chose to join us this Thursday and all the other Thursdays to come at the 7 p.m. hour. So this week we have Dawn Phillips. Wow, Dawn Phillips. I'm so excited to have her. Oh my goodness, just to give her a hug again. Dawn, oh my goodness, she's a published author, she's a wife, she's a mom, a daughter, right? A grandmother. She also rides a bike. Is it a Harley now? Are you back?
Yes.
You on a Harley? Her and her husband ride bikes, and she's done this cross country. She's got all these patches and just phenomenal. I wish I could ride a motorcycle. I really do. I want one of those fast ones, right? the tra- but the traffic around this DC area is so crazy. I'd be like, whoo,
Yeah.
I can't take it. But anyway, I'm just excited because, and also she's a published author. I'm gonna let her tell you about all of that. But she afforded me the opportunity to publish her book, her first book, and she's also a life coach, health and wellness coach, I believe it is. And you know what? Let us allow her to give us a hello. Take it away, Dawn.
Thank you very much. Very, very happy to be here. Excited for the opportunity to be able to share some of myself with you guys. And I love the whole concept of embrace to change. I'm all about the uplifting and the empowering. I am a life coach and I'm also a health and wellness coach. And just became a mindfulness meditation facilitator. So I do a lot of mindfulness daily. I have a daily routine that I practice. And so I think it's important to educate people on the importance of mindfulness because I do believe that people can change their minds, their mindsets. but it requires different steps, changing behaviors and things of that nature. So, and yes, I'm an author. I did publish my first book in February of 2019, and I'm in the process of publishing a second book, which is self-love, and it's geared towards women, which that's another area that I'm very passionate in, because I think that there's a lot of women out there that don't know how to love themselves. And so I'm just very, very passionate about purpose, and helping people identify who they are and who they can be, and that everybody has the potential to be what they want to be. So I'm very excited to be here. Thank you.
Wow. She's got a second book coming, you all. Oh my goodness. That's exciting. I'm so happy to hear that.
Thank you.
Ooh. Well, you know, uh, Dawn, this topic, free from past pain, and um, would you? Oh, I didn't bring your book over. Okay, I have to go grab it in a minute.
I got it.
Oh, you have it? It's on my
I
bookshelf.
got
I'm looking at it.
it.
Yes. Hold your book up, please. Hold your book
Okay.
up. Can they see it? Oh, that might be too
Can you see it?
close. No, come
Okay.
back a little bit. There we go. Read it out. Read it off to us.
There we go. Okay. It is
There we go.
called Your Voice, Your Choice, Free from Past Pain. Um, This is basically the story of my life within the pages of this book. It's available on Amazon, but I also have copies. But this is something that's very near and dear to me.
Yes, yes, yes. I really recommend her book. I'm not just saying it because, she allowed me to publish her book for her, but it's really good and it really gets into being free from your past pain. And so tonight we're going to talk about free from past pain. And so I'm just going to kind of kick this off, right? So your what is your past pain? Everybody has pain in from their past, and that's a vast, that's huge, right? It could be, I'm not even just going to, it could be a ton of things. It could be drug abuse, it could be molestation, rape, it could be a ton of things. I mean, the list goes on. Drug abuse, etc. um it could be homelessness, domestic violence, so many things. But whatever your pain was, right? There's some that, were hurt inside of the church. There were some, and the list goes on and on and on. But it's one thing to have your pain, it's one thing to grow up with your pain, and then to, just keep it within. But then what do you do from there? Some people die with their pain. Some people don't ever get over it. And that's the part, that's why we're here today, because we want you to be free from that past pain. We want you to take the steps, to do the necessary things in order to release that pain, to get it out. And so now you can press forward. So that's just kind of, to get us going. But go ahead, Don, take us away.
Okay. So for me, um, I'm a domestic violence survivor, and it was 20 plus years that started when I was a child. So it started in my home, and based on my my home experience, that carried into my young adulthood, into relationships that I entered into with men. Um, I tended to gravitate towards men that were like my father. Um, so I ended up in a couple of abusive marriages, and um, so it was just years and years of internal suffering for me. Mine was more of the emotional and mental abuse. There was physical, but a lot of it was emotional. And it wasn't until 2019, which was a very long time, um, a voice inside me just kept saying, write the book, write the book. And I ignored it for a while. And I mean, I love to write, but I never thought I could write a book. Um, so during the government furlough, I really had a lot of time on my hands. And I just sat down one night and I said, you know what? I'm going to write the book. And the title, Your Voice, Your Choice, was important to me because it was my way of speaking up and speaking out. It was my way of saying, this is my story. And it amazed me how this book just flowed out of me in such a way that, I mean, I wrote it very quickly. Um, and I think it was the last piece that was missing in my healing process because over the years, you tend to push stuff to the back of your head. You try to enter into new relationships and you say to yourself, okay, this is not gonna be the same. I'm not gonna tolerate this. I'm not gonna do this. I'm not gonna do that. But you end up in this vicious cycle um, because you haven't really released yourself from that pain from your past. And it really is a hindrance on relationships. I'm married now and I have a wonderful husband, a godsend husband. Um, but what it took for me is I actually had to um, be by myself and be still. There was a point in my life where, you know, God said, you need to just be still because I was the woman that felt like I had to be in a relationship all the time. I had to be up under a man. I had to, you know, do this and do that. But I really wasn't focusing on myself and what I needed internally. And so it took 3 years for me to not be in any relationship. And then when my husband came into my life, I still felt like there was something that was missing. And when this book got birthed, because I do feel like it was an actual birth from me, I'm able to talk about it now. When at first I couldn't talk without crying or getting emotional, but this was actually very healing for me. And now I'm able to talk about it. And you know, the book is very candid. You know, it goes through everything, even things that I did wrong. That led to other things that were happening. But I felt like I had to be honest with myself, and so that's where the book came from. And it's amazing how it transformed me into a person, a woman who I feel like I'm stronger because of it. And I think that everybody has to identify with their past pain and not just say, yes, I have past pain, but truly, truly connect and truly put a name to it or put a title to it. And it's important for you to address it head on and not just keep it bottled inside because it does affect you. I mean, I had an anxiety disorder as a result of years of abuse and really wasn't sure where that came from at first. But it does things to you mentally and emotionally, and it really does have an effect, whether you realize it or not, on decisions that you make, once you become an adult. So that's kind of a little bit of my background in a nutshell.
You really brought out a good point, and I kind of want to touch on that when you said I had to take a moment and just stop. I had to just get to myself, not try to date, not try to talk to anybody. Let me just deal with being me in my own space. And I find that very true. I had to do the exact same. But quite often you don't hear many people saying that. You don't hear many people talking about, oh, you know what? You need to just take a break and deal with
Right.
you. Work on yourself. Let some healing begin. Let's get the hurt out. Let's see what's happening on the inside. Let's dissect
Yes.
some stuff. And being able, and it's hard to do that when you're trying to be in a relationship with someone, because then all of your focal is to that person.
Yeah.
And you're like, okay, well, am I making him or her happy? Where are we doing this weekend? Which is now you're taking all the focus off of you and the things that you need to get done. And great point. And I really wish, more people would actually do that. Just take a moment and just say, you know what? No, I'm going to just be still, take care of me, and figure this thing out.
You have to, because, and especially a woman who has been abused. Women who have been abused tend to have the mentality of being people pleasers. And I did it myself. And so it was always, I had a pattern of always putting a man first. It was when I had my kids at a young age. And so I put my kids first. Naturally, that's what I'm supposed to do as a mother. So for years and years, I neglected Dawn, and I put Dawn third, fourth, and fifth in the lineup because I felt like I had to make sure that everybody else was happy without realizing that I wasn't. And so, that in itself has a trickling effect, and it has an impact on relationships. And so I had the mentality that I couldn't be by myself. Um, it was a difficult decision for me to leave the father of my children because my kids were young, and I didn't think I could make it on my own financially. But I'm gonna tell you, God stepped in and never left my side. And that was amazing to me because I've always been a woman of faith and I believe in God. But, back when I was going through, this divorce when my kids were young, you don't necessarily have that faith, to believe that God is, never going to leave you and never going to forsake you. But I never had my lights cut off. I always was able to pay a bill. I had food on the table. It might not have been a full course meal, but all of my needs and all of my kids' needs, it was always met. And so, I just had to come to the realization that I'm going to be okay, without
Yes.
a man. I'm going to be okay. I'm going to survive. I'm going to make it. And it did.
Mhm.
It took 3 years for me to really, really get in touch with myself and what I
Mhm.
needed and what I didn't need. So it's so important to do that.
I totally agree. I totally agree. And just to kind of piggyback on what she said, to get in touch with herself. And you know what? For each person, it's different. It's
Yeah.
different, right? So how do you get in touch with yourself? What are the steps to do that? And I'm not asking you to really answer that. I'm just talking here. But we have to take those steps and figure that out because for each person is different. And and so for some it may take 3 years. For some it may, definitely I feel it's more than a month, right? Because but for some it may take a good year. But then, as she said, right, she had children at the time, younger children. So you have all the other dynamics going on at the same time where she may not have the time to be able to get to herself, to spend in that, where someone without children may be able to. But if you don't, but it's not even about the children, it's about will you be focused? And, that's
Right.
something that she kind of brought out where, oh my goodness, you know what? I'm going to be focused on me. And that's one of the steps we got to do.
And you can't look at it as feeling bad about it. Because there was a point when I started that journey where, I almost felt guilty, but you shouldn't feel guilty. You should definitely focus on yourself and be selfish. It's okay to be selfish when you're focusing on getting to know yourself. It's also very important to know your worth. That is so key because a lot of times, again, I reflect back to my past pain, which was the domestic violence, which tore my self-esteem to shreds. Um, I never really thought that I was good enough because that's what I was told for a long time. Um, I was told you're not going to amount to anything. I mean, you name it, I've been through it. And so it took me a minute to really understand I'm worth it. I am a queen and I am the one that's supposed to wear the crown. And I think that a lot of times us as women tend to compromise and, just to be in a relationship with somebody, or you hear women say, well, a half of a man is better than no man. No, that's not true.
Mm-mm.
That's
Mm-mm.
not true at all. So it's we tend to settle, and you really have to understand that you don't have to settle, and you deserve to get put on a pedestal from a man. You deserve to have the things that you want in life. You have
Mhm.
to tell yourself until you believe it that you're worthy and you're worth it, and that's hard to do, and it takes some time, but it can be done.
Yes, I want to look at this comment here that Lisa put, and it says, okay, I'm need my glasses. We as women lose ourselves so easily. We become so and so's wife, our children's mother, and then we no longer know who we are. That's why we need to have those be still moments.
Absolutely.
Yes, yes, yes,
Absolutely,
yes.
because we do. We get so caught up, and like I said, I've always been that person where everybody else, and even my father, um, my dad was a very strict person and very controlling, and that's what I ended up with in my relationships. And so yeah, we definitely lose ourselves, we lose our dignity, we lose our identity, we lose everything. And in order for us to get it back, it's not jumping from one man to the next man because you didn't find what you were looking for in the first man. You're never going to find what you're looking for, because women should not be chasing men. I truly believe that I had to learn this myself. You're the person that you're meant to be with will be sent to you. And I believe that. I believe that God sent me my soulmate, which is my husband that I have now. We'll be married for 5 years next weekend. And
Wow.
it wasn't until I stopped the chasing and stopped the running around and settling and things of that nature. And when I wasn't bothered by it, where it wasn't, even when we first started talking, it was more or less, I was able to handle myself a lot better when I was approached versus jumping at the first opportunity because somebody smiled at me. Because sometimes we take false attention, or the wrong attention, as a good thing. And,
Mm-hmm.
oh, he said I was beautiful, or oh, and that's how they suck you in. And so you really have to understand, the warning signs and even things of that nature. So when you do spend time with yourself, you become more in tune to things that you may not have necessarily been in tune to before because you were kind of blind. You had the blinders on.
Mm-hmm. That's true. Very much true. And I think about um whatever the pain was. We're referring to domestic violence, but whichever the pain, I still feel that you got to take that time to just be to get to yourself, get to know who am I, figure you out.
Yeah.
And something else you said, right? Let's not be so thirsty. Where,
Right.
in a sense, right? You're like, oh,
Yes.
there's a guy. Oh, wait, oh, did he say hi?
Yeah.
Hi. You're like, whoa, wait a minute. Okay, hello.
Right.
Yeah, yeah, my number's 202. Oh, you,
Right.
wait, I didn't ask for your
Right.
number yet. Just slow your roll.
Yes. Yes.
But and I really appreciate, you saying that, because sometimes we get so caught up, or so, like you say, we get so focused on, um I gotta have a guy, I gotta have a man, I can't live by myself. And that's really,
Yes.
the root of the thing, right? I can't be
Yes.
alone, which is not
Yes.
true. you
Mm-mm.
know we can. And you know what, in God, we're never alone. But
Absolutely.
we can do it, and that should not be the reason why then you try to connect with someone else.
Right. Yeah, because you're connecting off the bat for the wrong reason. And it's out of loneliness or out of
Hmm.
something. It's something that you're missing that you maybe didn't get before. And so, I have to emphasize, the alone time, and it's awkward at first. I'm not gonna lie. My kids were out of the house, and so it was just me. But you find things, and you start to really understand, what's fun for you. What are your interests? What do you like to do? You don't have to have somebody to go out and get something to eat. You don't have to have somebody to go to a movie. I mean, now are different times, but there's so much stuff that you can do and I got to the point where I loved coming home from work. I didn't have to deal with somebody, being in my face or, anything like that. It was my house. It was my space. I could do what I want. I didn't have to answer to anybody. And so I started to enjoy that. Just the relaxation part, just the fact that I could unwind, and so it it just took me to a really good place, like I said, and I wasn't so focused on what I thought I needed.
Yes, most definitely. I like, what Lisa said here. Even if your pain isn't from a man, it can be from others that you trusted with your heart. It still all applies.
So I actually would like to make a comment about that,
Okay.
because I'm the type of person, um, that I liked to have people like me. That's what I used to do all the time. Like I
Hmm.
wanted to be accepted, and I was willing to just, kind of compromise because I wanted to have a friendship with somebody, or I wanted to have a circle of friends. And I was willing to put up with things, from different friendships. And I've been through that as well, where, just within the last year, I've learned that, not everybody is in my corner, and not everybody is genuine, and not everybody is my friend. And I have had people within the last year where I've supported them wholeheartedly, and they kind of turn their backs on me. And so it's a very hurtful thing to go through when you think that somebody is genuinely, your friend. But now I'm at a point where I don't tolerate it anymore. I just kind of cut ties because I found myself, again, getting upset, internalizing, taking things personally. And that's another thing, I was always taking things personally rather than looking at the situation for what it was worth, and realizing that, I wasn't the one with the issue. I didn't do anything wrong, that it was that other person. And so that takes a while too to understand that concept, because you tend to, me, I can only speak for myself, think that somehow it was your fault. Somehow you played a hand at somebody treating you badly. But 9 times out of 10, that's not the case. But it's this thing that you have embedded in your brain, that somehow, some way you did something or said something, that messed it up. But that's not always the case. So that was a good point that she made. That it doesn't necessarily have to be a man. It could be a friend. It could be a family member. Um, I don't have a good relationship with my uncle right now. And my family is very small, what's left of us. And so it could be anybody. It could definitely be anybody, not necessarily just a man.
Yes, and I was actually going to go there next, saying, we've talked about domestic violence, but then what about family, where you have those family feuds. We kind of got into this on our last segment 2 weeks ago, where that person in the middle being the glue for the family, and it's kind of hard sometimes, but the other side of that, where this person's not talking to that person, and it gets tough. But because there's some pain, there's something that has happened. I've experienced it where I've had one of my uncles, he just all of a sudden it felt like he dropped off the side of the earth. We Nobody heard from him. And it'd been a while, and then all of a sudden, he was back. It was like, oh, okay, like nothing happened. It was like, okay, we still don't know what and why, but okay, love him just the same, right? So, but how we navigate, whether it's someone at work, right? You know how to deal with that. But then, as you said, right, a friend, um, domestic violence, the different areas of pain. And then how do we deal, how do we get free, how do we then move to the next step, of the process.
Yeah, and I think that a big part of it is really, um, not feeling guilty. And I'll give you an
Mm.
example of the family thing. My uncle, which is my mom's brother,
Hmm.
him and I had a falling out probably a couple years ago, and it was around my daughter. And so for years, my uncle was kind of my go-to person, in terms of, he would help me out financially occasionally when I needed the help. And so I didn't realize, that he was kind of holding that over my head, so to speak. And so
Mm.
there was an incident where, it involved my daughter, and my daughter was supposed to make a move and she didn't. And as a result, my uncle got upset with me and stopped talking to me as a result. And so, me being the person that I am, I had reached out to him. And when I reached out to him, he basically brushed me off and told me that he didn't want to talk to me. And that was very hurtful, because I didn't do anything wrong, number one.
Right.
And for my uncle, my only uncle, my mom's brother, to treat me like that was very, very upsetting to me. And so a month had gone by, and I said, you know what? I'm going to be the bigger person. I'm going to reach out and I'm going to try again. And again, he just totally disregarded me. And so we haven't spoken a couple of years. And so, I had to finally tell my mom, I had to stand up and I had to say, look, I'm done trying. I've been the bigger person. I've tried to reach out. I'm good. My conscience is clear. And as long as my conscience is clear and I know that I've done what I can do to mend this situation, all I can do is just let it go. That's something that he has to live with. And so I think that a lot of times we need to let go, because we're taking on the weight of others that we shouldn't be taking on. If it's not something, if we know that we're clear and free and we've done everything that we can, for whatever the situation is, and it's still not right, you got to learn to let it go and move past it. You know, there's barriers too that prevent people from moving forward. And so as a life coach, that's what I do is, you know, I help people identify barriers and ways to overcome the barriers. Because if you have barriers that have been there for years, you're always going to be stagnant. You're always going to be in that place, and you're never going to be able to move forward unless you face them head on.
So true. So true. Wow, you said a mouthful right there. And I love the part where you said you did all that you could. And, being the bigger person. Sometimes, I'm gonna tell you, Dawn, sometimes I'm tired of being the bigger person.
Yeah.
I'm just tired of I don't want to be the bigger person this time. Okay, I'm done with my tantrum. but but then, right? We didn't end up being the bigger person because that's what we do, right? So,
Right.
but it doesn't mean I want to, but I don't feel like it. Can somebody else just pick up the mallet and be the bigger person this time other than me? But
Yeah.
but then being that bigger person, and I really love that. But then, okay, you tried all that you could, and it wasn't just one try. And I
Mhm.
totally respect that. It wasn't like, well, I called, how when you have siblings and you're growing up and your parents, your mom or dad will say, well, go apologize, and you be like, sorry. Like
Right.
you say sorry because they told you to say sorry, but you really don't mean sorry, right? Like, okay, sorry.
Right.
but but
Mhm.
you took the effort, right? You could have been like, well, I called, he didn't answer, or or he saw my number and didn't pick up, or
Yeah.
but you tried and you tried and you tried, and I totally respect you for that. And you kept with it, you kept at it. And I would have to say I agree with you that you've done all that you can. And
Yeah.
having a free conscience, yes, okay, my conscience is free. But it was that last piece that you said where I don't feel like we always do that, and that's to let it go.
Let it go. Mhm.
Because I'm like, sometimes I just want to hold on,
Yes.
just hold it right here. Just
Yeah.
let watch. He
Yeah.
gonna need to call me for something. He gonna need something. And I'm remember that time you didn't remember because
Yeah.
you know, okay. But we
Yeah.
try to hold on to this thing, and he's like, let it go, let it go. But you
Yeah.
did. And that just speaks
Mhm.
volumes because we gotta let it go. And sometimes it's hard because I don't know if we want retribution, we want retaliation, we want
Yeah.
recognition. I don't know what it is, but we want something back in return for that
Yeah.
thing. It's like, mm-mm. I ain't holding it tight, but I ain't letting it go either. you know,
Yeah.
whatever
Yeah.
it is.
Yeah.
But that's key, letting it go. But then
Yeah.
finally, when I do let it go, it's like, what took me so long? I should have been done that. Man.
Yeah. Yeah. Because it's like it's a weight that you carry around, and it's it affects you. You know, it affects
hmm
your health, it affects your well-being, it affects your mental, you know, your state of mind. I mean, it really, you don't understand how much of an impact it has on you. And you know, you have to let go. And you know, my dad, you know, even with everything that I went through with my dad when I was younger, and even into my adulthood, up to the point where, you know, he got sick, and you know, he had like 8 months before he passed. And you know, he wrote me a letter. And you know, the letter was very it was very, I got very emotional, you know, reading the words from my dad, because what was on paper is not what I experienced with my dad. But I was actually able to forgive my dad,
Wow.
and I had to let it go because despite everything that he put me through and how he made me feel and even how I turned out as an adult, I still had to let it go, and I had to forgive him, because he still was my dad. And even my ex-husband, the father of my kids, I had to get over that, and I had to let that go as well, because when you harbor emotions and you harbor hatred and ill will, against people, when you hold that inside, you're only hurting yourself. You're not hurting that person. That person is living their life. They're doing whatever they want to do. You're the one
Mm-hmm.
that is stopping yourself from living your life.
Mm-hmm.
So you
Mm-hmm.
you gotta let it go.
Yeah.
They're looking at you and they're laughing like, yeah, okay, I got you. And see, that's the thing. They still have that hold on you. If
Mm-hmm.
you don't let it go, there's still a
Mm-hmm.
hold.
Mm-hmm.
You gotta break that chain. You gotta, get some strongholds off of you. You got to.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Most definitely. For forgiveness is key. Um, and
That's very
it,
difficult.
it is. It takes an effort because it says not only, it's not only letting go, but it says, okay, I'm not even going to hold that against you anymore.
Right.
And, you know, I'm like, wow, I'm I'm not going to hold it against you anymore. Okay. Wow.
Yeah.
But then isn't that what God does for us, right?
Yep.
And he does it without hesitation. I'm going to have to hesitate because I'm like, well, I don't know, because time before this, because anyway.
Yeah.
But the
Yeah.
Father, he does
Yeah.
not hesitate. That's what I love. He's like, oh, you did what? No worries. Come here, LaShonne. I got you. You good? All right, let's go.
Yeah.
Really? Oh my gosh! Woo! Who wouldn't serve a God like this?
Yes. Amen.
Yes,
Amen.
yes, yes, yes.
But
Go ahead.
yeah, I think forgiveness is something that is very difficult, and it's because we're human. A lot of times we'll see that through our human vision, versus the spiritual, or something like that. And so it takes a while to really truly forgive somebody. You can always say it out of your mouth, but that doesn't necessarily mean that you truly forgave somebody. So yeah, it's definitely a freeing experience, and I just, I believe that within the last couple of years, I've really learned a lot about myself, and I think that I've grown, as a woman, and just the decisions that I make now and the things that I'm less likely to tolerate. And that's not a bad thing. I believe that we all have to set limitations, in our personal lives and our professional lives. And, we weren't born to be anybody's doormat. And so,
Yeah.
there's certain times that, you do have to say no, or it's okay to say no. It's okay to not be available, for somebody. It's okay. We don't always have to say yes, and we don't have to make ourselves readily available all the time. It's okay to do that. And that's something that I had to learn, because I always felt like I had to be here and I had to do this. And I mean, I was just all over the place trying to do everything for everybody. And again, it wasn't until it was like, you need to sit your butt down somewhere and just chill. And that's what I had to do. And so now I feel like I live more at peace. Definitely in myself and my decisions, and I really love my husband because he's an Aries man, and he speaks before he thinks. And I'm a thinker, so I think before I speak.
Mhm.
And it's funny because I'm a Libra, and so he's always trying to get me to tilt my scale, is what he always says, and I love that about him because
Mhm.
He's a good compliment, to me, being an introvert and being the type of person that I am. He's allowed me to really um, be more expressive of myself, and that's another thing that we need to do is express ourselves, because your voice matters, and you should have no fear of using your voice, in whatever
Yes.
capacity you need to use it. Don't be afraid.
Amen. That's true. Our voice does matter. And I really think that speaks to some of the pain, that we have dealt with in our past, because the pain becomes so heavy and, thick at times. And whether it's domestic violence, whether it's abuse, drug abuse, etc., molestation, whatever it is, it's a part of that pain is to be muted. And no, you can't talk about it, no, you can't say anything. And we and that's we have to do the opposite, because to keep it in, it begins to, I was doing a session in my small group, and I was just saying, hey, even mold grows.
Yeah.
So we got to get that stuff out, because it just sits there and it festers and festers and festers, and it spreads and spreads. But to be muted, our voice really matters. But what I found key is that you have to find that safe place. You got to have that
Yeah.
safe zone, that one person. So that's my prayer, for those watching and those that'll catch the replay, that you are able then to connect with someone where you're able to express and get that out. But it's actually the right person you need to get to, who can be a help to you, who's not going to run and try to share a new story or gossip or etc., but someone then that can help you to build and heal and all of those good things. So having that person, because we shouldn't be muted, we should not. And that's the thing, what I found with pain, right? Pain hurts. And when you have that pain, right? So I think about, let's say I stump my toe, right, on the side of the bed or the desk or something. First thing you do is you say ouch. I don't try to be like, I don't do like that. I'm like, ow, say it out. It hurts. It's out.
Mhm.
We say it out
Yes.
loud. But it's the reverse whenever the pain is more intensified, and it's dealing with us on the inside. we
Mhm.
you know we don't say anything, where
Right.
now the pain is boom boom boom, and it's hitting at all sides and spaces and places, and in the mind, etc. And all of a sudden, you're like, not saying a word, but it's showing, right?
Yeah.
And that speaks to some of the wellness and things that you've learned, and where you're able to see that. And we have to, our voice matters. Our voice matters. Oh, I could just keep talking about that. Go
Absolutely.
go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, you've got to be able to speak on it. And I think that people need to understand there's always going to be a root cause for your pain. For domestic violence, you're looking for love. You're trying to seek out something that was missing, whatever that may be. And so, because there's something missing that you can't necessarily identify with at the time, people turn to alcohol, people turn to drugs, people turn to abusers, people that control them. You turn to different things because you're always seeking out and trying to find. And really, the only thing that you're doing is you're putting a band-aid on it. It's a temporary fix that's not going to have a permanent solution. So I think it's important to find somebody that's a neutral person, because sometimes if you talk to a family member or if you talk to a girlfriend, they might be biased in the advice that that they're giving you because they know your history, or they, so they're going to be, they may not give you the advice that you necessarily need. And so it's always good to have that central, neutral, non-judgmental person where you can truly open up and, just have that person to talk to and just let it all out. And once you have it out, you can identify the barriers, and then you want to talk about the goals. Everybody has goals. And if you don't have goals, that's something that you should probably think about. We all should have some type of goal that we're working towards, whether it be professionally or in our personal life. But I think it's just really important. And I think that there's just so many people out there that are just existing and they're not living. And it's really
That
sad.
part. Mm-hmm.
It's really sad, you
That
know?
part. Mm-hmm. That part. And oh, I love how this conversation is going. There are so many people just existing, and they're just literally doing this routine.
Yeah,
And I always refer to that as the merry-go-round.
yeah,
They're on the merry-go-round, they won't jump off. And I'm like, get
yeah.
off the merry-go-round, jump, you can do it. You're not gonna remember the playground, jump off. But it's not always that, I make it sound simple, but sometimes it's not that simple. But
Yeah,
they're just doing this routine. They get up, they go to work, they take their lunch and come back, and they go to store, they come home, same thing every day. You can clockwork,
yeah,
just in this zone. Oh my goodness. Okay, go ahead, Dawn. I
yeah.
was, whew.
Yeah, no, they don't realize that there's so much more out there in life, and life is meant to be lived, and experienced. My husband and I, we do ride motorcycles, and just going on the other side of the United States, it's amazing, and I felt like I was shortchanging myself for all these years because the beauty that God created in this earth itself is amazing, and I mean, the mountains and the formations and just everything, the animals, the bison and all of that stuff. Like, you got to get out there and live, because for me, I want to live. I don't want to just exist. And I think it's important for people to just recognize where you're at and be willing to say, I need to make some changes in my life. It's okay to be where you're at, recognize it, but try to move past it. And, there are people out there, such as myself, that are willing to meet you where you're at. And that's important too. You have to have somebody that's willing to meet you where you're at, and help you from that point forward. You're not going to be able to do it by yourself. And so that's kind of, I think that's important as well. You got to be honest with yourself. That's another thing. You definitely got to be honest with yourself. You don't have to be honest with, I mean, you don't have to front with the people that are around you. As long as you're being honest with yourself, that's the most important thing. And if you can honestly say, I'm not happy with myself, then it's definitely time to make some changes.
Yes, so true. So true. Wow. That right there, we have to be honest with ourselves. And I think that's one of the key takeaways for being free from your past pain. Just kind of recap that, you got to get to yourself, take that time, for you mentioned you did the 3 years. It wasn't planned. That's how long it took. And
Hmm.
taking that time just to take the time to find who you are.
Yes.
Get in touch with yourself, and then from there, deal with these things where you have to deal with forgiveness, letting stuff go. And I love this part, ending with being honest with yourself. Wow.
Absolutely.
How often are we honest with our own self? Not enough.
That's it. Mm-mm. No.
Not enough. If you would be so kind to just give us some closing remarks.
Okay. Well, I thank everybody who tuned in and who was listening. And I just would like to encourage everybody that's out there, struggling, who has barriers, who has limiting beliefs, who just really doesn't feel good about themselves, and that they're carrying a lot of burdens and pains from years and years. And I'm speaking from experience, so I feel comfortable with talking to you about this. You've definitely got to speak up, and as we stated, your voice matters. Your voice is important. You're important. You matter, and in order for you to become free, there are steps that you have to take. And the first step is to admit where you're at, be honest with yourself, and then try to find somebody that you're comfortable with, that you feel safe with, that you're able to talk to, and just work on yourself, work on what you need to do to make yourself a better person, and put yourself first. That's very important. And I know it's hard if you have small kids and things of that nature, but you still have to find time to make yourself important. Because if you don't, as she said, you're going to be on the merry-go-round or the hamster wheel, and it's just going to be a vicious cycle until you decide to jump off or stop the wheel. So that's what I would like to end with this evening, and thank you very much for joining in.
Thank you so much, Dawn. I truly, truly enjoyed this segment. Well, I say that all the time, but I enjoyed this segment. Free from past pain. Wow. I mean, you gave some great key points. I just love how the conversation went, and definitely some good takeaways. I'm not going to repeat all of what you just said, but I do love the last point you brought out, and that is be honest with yourself. If you remember all the other things, definitely remember, be honest with yourself. Wow.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much, Don, for joining me this week on Shifting Mindsets show. I thank you all for tuning in, and we will be back on April, I think it's April 29th April 29th is our next show, and we will have another guest and another topic for that evening. Thanks again for joining us, and until next time. Bye bye.
Bye. Thank you.